the polymyxins, especially colistin and polymyxin B, they are mainly used in the last resort for MDR. We all already know, and these drugs still they on PKPD as well as the clinical efficacy. Still, the data is limited, and always it is recommended to go for the alternate agent, and we have to consider these drugs in the last resort. So the issue is when we are going to use the drugs, we should perform the susceptibility, and challenge is the MIC. So the recommended method for colistin, broth microdilution, broth disc elution, and agar dilution. So these three methods are acceptable methods. So I just want to highlight these are the acceptable, but the gold standard when we are reference method, it is broth microdilution. So broth disc elution and agar dilution as a routine clinical testing or for the surveillance and infection control aspect, we can perform. They are acceptable method, but when it is, we are speaking about gold standard, it is broth microdilution. So also for the B is the only approved method. The disc diffusion and gradient diffusion like E-test and all should not be performed for colistin. And for Acinetobacter, there are methods evaluated by CLSI, but there are inaccurate results by various methods. So this is the final consensus as per the latest CLSI 2024. So why we want to do this subgroup study, the sub study, why we have to do, as in the last sentence we mentioned, whatever methods evaluated by CLSI, they found that the results are inaccurate, and also the methods established with the limited disk or media manufacturers, and whatever results, which is whatever interpretation provided in CLSI, they were actually provisional till they are getting the additional data. So we are trying to generate as much as possible data, like using a multi-center study, like in multiple center. When we are doing, we can make a reasonable enough number of isolates, and we can able to compare various methods. So that is the basic idea. And the interpretation criteria, if we see, less than or equal to 2 microgram per ml is considered as intermediate, and more than or equal to 4 microgram per ml considered resistant. There is no breakpoint for susceptibility or for susceptible dose dependent. And for Acinetobacter species, only micro broth dilution is accepted. Even the agar dilution or broth disc elution methods are not acceptable for Acinetobacter. So right now what we are doing, most of the institute, most of the centers in India, what we are doing, either we are depend on VITEK or we are doing in VAMR study or other studies, we usually depend on disc elution test. So micro broth dilution, very few centers are doing, and how many centers we in-house method, it is questionable. So that is the major idea what we are trying to do in this study. We are trying to compare the VITEK results with all other acceptable method as per CLSI. The acceptable methods, as already mentioned, it is broth microdilution, in-house or commercially available, or agar dilution method or disc elution method. So these along with these three methods, we are going to compare our VITEK report. So the aim is comparison of colistin susceptibility by VITEK with colistin broth disc elution, colistin agar test, and micro broth dilution, either in-house or commercial, in enterobacterials, the one which are susceptible one, not the intrinsic resistant one, then Pseudomonas aeruginosa, then Acinetobacter species. So these three group of organism we are going to compare with all 4 methods. So the inclusion criteria: Enterobacterials, Pseudomonas aeruginosa, Acinetobacter baumannii. Then VITEK antibiotic susceptibility test as a part of VAMR we are doing, and colistin broth disc elution again as a part of VAMR study as a confirmatory the test we are doing. And the another 2 tests what we are going to focus in this sub study is colistin agar test and micro broth dilution test. So these 2 tests, additional 2 tests, it is mandatory for this sub study. If is encountering more than 10 isolates per day, then those centers, they can do all consecutive isolates, that is all gram negative basal up to 20 spot inoculation in single colistin agar plate. Though it is recommended the streaking maximum 10 isolate per plate as per CLSI, if a institute is encountering more number of isolate, for this study purpose, we can modify and we can use as a spot inoculation up to 20 spots per plate. Then, what is the number of isolates recommended? Minimum 50 isolates in each group. 50 isolates of enterobacterials per center, 50 isolates of Pseudomonas aeruginosa per center, 50 isolates of Acinetobacter baumannii per center. So this is what we are keeping a minimum essential requirement to participate in the study. And this enterobacterials excluding the intrinsically resistant one. Though as a routine before VITEK ID, if even if a center put up for the colistin agar test more than 10 isolates per day, then if it is found to be intrinsically resistant organism in the next day, those isolates to be excluded. Only the susceptible one we are supposed to. Susceptible means we have to exclude the intrinsically resistant group. Then ideally we are supposed to test daily, because so that the same inoculum what we are preparing can be tested in all 4 methodology. If we are making a metformin, the same thing we can actually use for all 4 methodology. That is the ideal way supposed to be done. If feasible, that is preferred. If it is not feasible, or if any center having less than 10 isolates per day, they can actually pool the isolate over 2 to 5 days, but not more than 5 days, because over time when we are storing the isolate in refrigeration, the resistant determinant will lose. So we have to perform within 5 days these isolates. Though ideally it is recommended daily basis, it is supposed to be done for the study purpose. When there are certain center may not have enough isolates and media may get wasted, in those centers they can pull the isolate for 2 to 5 days. So within 5 days, the isolates supposed to be tested by all these methods, and the results need to be entered in a Excel, not more than 5 days. So that is the main inclusion criteria. And what are the tests recommended? Disk diffusion method and gradient diffusion method like e-test are not recommended. So that is another important thing. Then data is going to be collected based on Excel data, like we will provide the sheet individualized to centers, and the centers will be monitored every weekly basis, how many isolates submitted and what is the results. And also weekly QC monitoring will be there, and weekly QC by the photographer should be shared in a drive. So that is a mandatory prerequisite for this study, because this colistin related study mainly depends on the quality control, which is very essential for all VAMR study. Quality control is very important, but for colistin and other sub studies we are very stringent in these aspects. Then what we are going to do, the 3 methodology we have already mentioned: colistin agar test, colistin broth disillusion test, and micro broth dilution test. The MBD can be in-house or commercial colistin MBD test can be acceptable. So methodology, this is from we already knew about all these aspects. Still I am just give you a quick readout on these things. For broth disillusion and colistin agar test, enterobacterials and Pseudomonas aeruginosa is actually recommended by CLSI, but for our study we are including Dr. baumannii also. Then limitations and all I am not going in detail. The when to perform the testing multi-drug resistant isolates for clinical and infection prevention purpose, but for our study we are going to enroll all consecutive isolates till a center reaches 50 isolate per group. So in total 150 isolate if a center completed, then the center may continue more number of isolates. We are not restricting any center, but minimum requirement 150 isolates necessary. Then the method for disc elution, tube dilution using colistin disc. So we are using the colistin disc 10 microgram colistin sulfate disc we are using, and we are going to use colistin. So colistin broth disc elution and colistin agar test, we are using all the For this study purpose, Enterobacterial, Pseudomonas aeruginosa along with Acinetobacter also we are going to compare. Then the three important concentration we are going to see: 1 microgram per ml, 2 microgram per ml, 4 microgram per ml. These three important concentration we are going to make in both the test. And the inoculum is 3 to 5 fresh colonies of the isolate, fresh 18 to 24-hour fresh. So if any center is going to do once in 4 days or 5 days, so you have to remember, when you are going to perform the test, before day you are supposed to subculture the isolate and you have to take a fresh isolate. Suppose a center which they are having less than 10 isolate and you are pulling for a particular day in the week, then when which day you are going to perform the test, the before day you are supposed to subculture and the fresh isolate supposed to be used for the study. So that is mandatory. And for broth distillation, 4 to 5 ml sterile normal saline we have to take 3 to 5 colonies, and 0.5 McFarland we have to prepare. The difference in Colistin agar test, after preparing 0.5 McFarland, we are going to dilute further. That is 1 in 10 dilution in saline we have to dilute. From that we are going to take 10 microliter. That is very important difference in these two methods. And instead of going through this slide, I will show the animation in the subsequent slides. The important thing, where we have to incubate 33 to 35 degrees Celsius, we have to incubate in ambient air. Then the duration is 16 to 20 hours we have to incubate. And purity plate must for all the test, all the test, VITEK and remaining three type of test. Purity plate is very important, and purity is very important. Quality control is very important. And in this study we are going to use the uh, controls. Quality controls are Pseudomonas aeruginosa ATTC strain we are going to use as a control. And the interpretation already we have mentioned, less than 2 or equal to microgram per ml considered as intermediate, and more than equal to 4 microgram per ml considered resistant. So this is the susceptibility criteria. Then uh, in the subsequent slide, mainly we are going to explain colistin agar dilution test, how we are supposed to do. Broth distillation already we have routinely we are performing as a part of VAMR study. So still I will show one slide on that, but the main focus is on colistin agar dilution test. So first thing, what salt we are going to use. So colistin sulfate is the salt we are going to use. And what is the solvent and diluent we are going to use? It is water is the solvent as well as diluent recommended as per CLSI. Suppose if a product which is procured by your center, different manufacturer, then you are supposed to read the kit insert and what recommended diluent the manufacturer recommending, that particular diluent and solvent you are supposed to use. Though CLSI recommending water, but you have to stick with your product and kit insert. So that is very important. Then how to calculate the active salt concentration? So basically different product which is available in market will have a different potency. So this is a example provided by CLSI. If a product mentioned 30,000 units per milligram, if a product labeled as 30,000 unit per milligram, how we can calculate the actual milligram actually going to act when we are using. So there is formula, either the particular units 30,000 unit, either you multiply that unit by 0.0333, or you divide that 30,000 unit by 30 units. So if you in both the way you will get the same answer. Like in this case 30,000 units per milligram, if you see this, if we see the 676 is the active concentration. What it means, if you are taking 1 milligram, that is 1000 microgram if you are using, but actually the active concentration from that is 676 microgram. So that is what it means actually. So most of the in Indian market, the commonly found product, if we see, it is more than 90,000 international unit per milligram. That is the potency it is mentioned. If your center is going to procure any item for first you have to check the potency, then you have to use the formula how we are supposed to calculate. So we are considering for this presentation sake this commercially available two products we have gone through. Then 19,000 international unit per milligram is the potency mentioned. So based on that we have calculated and we made this protocol. So if we see 19,000 units per milligram, which is going to give 633 microgram, or per milligram concentration, we will get the active concentration 633 microgram. That means if you see 1 milligram of colistin sulfate salt with the potency of more than 90,000 international unit per milligram, which is going to give 633 microgram per milligram powder. When you are using 1000 microgram powder, you are going to actually get 633 microgram active component. That is what it means. So if you are taking 10 milligram, that means 10,000 microgram. In 10,000 microgram, you are going to get 6,333 microgram of active component. So that is what it means. So with this calculation, we have to we derived this particular protocol. I am going to explain. The videos already shared in your group. The same thing. You must think about how this particular 633 6,333. So this is the how it was achieved. So what we need to make colistin stock solution. First thing, we have to make a stock solution. Then we have to go for a working solution. So first stock solution, when we have to take, we need 15 ml sterile centrifuge tubes, and it is recommended they should not be a non-reactive thing. The tubes are non-reactive polypropylene tubes you are supposed to use. Then this 15 ml we have to take. In the first tube, we are going to prepare the colistin stock solution. So as already we have mentioned the formula, 10 milligram of colistin sulfate salt, that is 10,000 microgram, it is going to give 6,333 microgram of active component. So what we are going to take now, we are going to take 6,333 microliter, that is 6.33 ml of water, sterile distilled water we are going to take in the first stock solution container. Then what we are going to do, 10 milligram of colistin sulfate salt we have to measure, and we have to take, and we have to add it in this 6.33 ml sterile distilled water. So now this particular stock will give this much amount. That means in this volume, 1 microliter contain 1 microgram active colistin. Stock solution should be stored at minus 80 degrees Celsius. Then coming to preparation of working solution. Now we have the stock solution, that is 6.3 ml. In this, each microliter contains 1 microgram of active colistin. And how we are going to make working solution? We have to take another 15 ml tubes. In this, the first tube will serve as a quality control. In this, we are not going to add any colistin powder. Remaining 3 tubes we can label 10 microgram per ml, 20 microgram per ml, 40 microgram per ml. In the video, it is mentioned 1 microgram, 2 microgram, 4 microgram. That is actually the labeling, not the actual concentration in the tube, because that particular tube is going to prepare the 1 microgram per ml agar plate. So that's what it is mentioned in the video. So to avoid confusion, it is better to make labeling microgram per ml, 20 microgram per ml, 40 microgram per ml. This is the working solution we are going to take, and we are going to add 10 ml of distilled water, sterile distilled water in each tube. Then the next step, what we are going to do, from the first this tube, 10 microgram per ml tube, we are going to remove 100 microliter of the sterile distilled water and discard in the discard jar. Then from the second jar, 20 microgram per ml, we are going to remove 200 microliter, and again we are going to discard. Then in the third tube, 400 microliter we are going to take and going to discard. So after doing this, the next step, what we are going to do, from the stock solution, whatever amount from each tube, the same amount we are going to replace with the stock solution. So in the 10 microgram per ml tube, we are adding 100 microliter of stock solution. It means we are adding 100 microliter. So 100 microliter, each microliter containing 1 microgram of colistin. So 100 microliter means 100 microgram colistin we are adding in this 10 ml. So in the same way, 200 microliter, 400 microliter. So the finally what we are going to achieve, when you added 100 microliter stock solution in 10 ml, we are going to get 10 microgram in 1 ml working solution. So each ml will contain 10 microgram. So in total 10 ml containing 100 microgram. So 1 ml is going to contain 10 microgram. In the same way, 20 microgram, 40 microgram in the subsequent tubes. So this is how we are making the working solution. Now, next step, what we are going to prepare the agar. So first thing we have to, now this is the uh, uh, working solution which contains the 10 microgram per ml, 20 microgram per ml, 40 microgram per ml. Now in the bottle, there are different sizes of McCartney bottles available. Here in this presentation, we are taking 100 ml of 100 ml size McCartney bottle we are taking. In this, we are adding 90 ml of MH agar, molten MH agar we have to take. It means first you have to prepare the agar and you have to add in each McCartney bottle 90 ml, 90 ml, 90 ml like that. Then when the temperature is coming around 45 to 50, so in that state, you have to add from these tubes, you have to add the drug in this McCartney bottle. So what we are going to do now, in each, this McCartney bottle contain the molten agar in 45 to 50 degrees Celsius, molten agar. Now from the QC tube, where there is no colistin drug, we are transferring all 10 ml to the first tube. Then second thing, we are going to take the second tube, that is 10 microgram per ml. We are transferring to the 1 microgram per ml McCartney bottle. The same way, from the 20 microgram per ml to 2 microgram ml, 40 microgram to 4 microgram ml. So this labeling, if you see, this is the final concentration what we need. So the McCartney bottle need to be labeled in such a way: 1 microgram per ml, 2 microgram per ml, 4 microgram per ml. So from this, now we have to be vertex gently, we have to mix the drug to properly dissolve in all over the media. Then subsequently we have to pour the molten agar in a petri plate, again labeled appropriately. So after pouring in the media, so if you are taking 100 ml, it means that you can add 20 ml in 5 plates, or you can add 25 ml in 4 plates. So each bottle you can prepare 4 to 5 quality plate, and from 1 microgram per ml you can make 4 or 5 plates, 2 microgram per ml you can make 4 or 5 plates, like that. So one time if you prepare the stock solution, working solution, you can make 4 to 5 plates of this different concentration of colistin plates. So this is how you are supposed to make colistin agar plate. So once it is ready, now you can go with, as per CLSI, if the centers having very less number of isolate, they can make marking like up to 10 marking, or if center is having more number of isolates, then they can make up to 20 isolates as a checkerboard type. Then you can make a spot inoculation. So how we are going to interpret, we have to after making the suspension as described earlier, you have to take the colony 4 to 5 fresh colony in 4 to 5 ml of normal saline. Then you have to dilute in 1 in 10 dilution. From the 1 in 10 dilution, you have to inoculate in this way, or a spot inoculation you have to make. Then you have to observe in quality control, and 1 microgram, 2 microgram, 4 microgram. All the plates you have to inoculate, and you have to see whether after incubation for 16 to 20 hours, we have to see is there any growth or no growth. So based on the growth or no growth, we have to make the interpretation. And if it is less than 2 microgram per ml, the interpretation will be intermediate. If it is more than 4 microgram per ml, it is considered resistant. So this is what colistin agar test, how we are going to make the media, and how we are going to test the isolates. And colistin broth disillusion, again same, 10 ml of cation adjusted Muller-Hinton broth will be there. Again the labeling will be GC, 1 microgram per ml, 2 microgram per ml, 4 microgram per ml labeling will be there. and in the 1 microgram per ml, only one colistin disc, 10 microgram disc, one disc you have to add. In 2 microgram, 2 disc you have to add. In 4 microgram, you have to add 4 disc. So then a gentle vertex you have to do. You should not make any vigorous vertexing. It will leads to sticking of this disc over the cap or floating here. So a gentle vertexing should be there. You have to allow for 30 minutes. Then after that, you have to inoculate the inoculum what we prepared. So then we have to incubate. Then the next day we have to see for the turbidity in the. So the same way we have to make the interpretation. And comes to broth microdilution. This is the gold standard. The issue is a stringent one. In-house one is stringent, laborious, though it is preferred. And if any center is ready to do, then we will discuss the protocol, because right now we didn't make in-house protocol. We didn't make. We have ready-made protocol in NCDC website and CLSI. We can adapt that. But right now we didn't make any in-house protocol for this study. But it is the preferred method, and it is a stringent and gold standard method. And commercial method, any commercially available microbroth dilution, it can be procured from your center, and as per the kit literature we can perform the test. So this is the study method. Then what we are going to do after doing all these tests, what we are going to do, how we are going to do analysis, categorical agreement and disagreement with very major error will be calculated. So with which test we are going to compare with which test. These all are the permutation combination we are suggested for this study, and all these permutation combination we will compare and we will analyze the data. So this is what the plan we have made for this particular sub study. Then we got the enrollment from around 30 centers, and most of the centers opted for colistin broth dissolution and colistin agar test, but very few center mentioned for microbroth dilution. But for this study, microbroth dilution method is mandatory. Then only we can make a meaningful study. Otherwise, there will not be any meaning. And majority of the center committed 10 to 30 isolates. So we are expecting every center may perform daily basis colistin testing. If it is less number of isolate, they can pool for 3 to 4 days. In the 5th day, complete the isolate of that particular week. And in such a way, we are expecting at least 1,000 isolates in each group. In overall study outcome, we are expecting. And the study period, because the isolate number is very less, 50 isolate per group, like Enterobacterales 50, Acinetobacter 50, and Pseudomonas 50. So we are expecting we can actually complete in a 3 to 4 month period, we can complete the study. So this is from my end. I'm handing over to Dr. Ketan for further discussion.
Okay, so thank you, Siva sir. So as we have very clearly mentioned that in this subgroup study, the centers are expected to perform VITEK either using N405 and 040 card, and supplementally they have to perform CAT, CBD, as well as broth microdilution. The choice of broth microdilution rests upon individual institute. They can either opt for commercial MBD itself, or they can choose in-house conventional broth microdilution. But you have to perform all those 4 tests on a Enterobacterales or Pseudomonas aeruginosa or Acinetobacter species isolate to in that isolate, and that has to be a consecutive sample. You cannot pinpoint you're doing for some but not doing for others. It has to be a consecutive sampling of these. So those centers who are willing and to take this extra mile may continue in this study. If you have any doubt, you can ask us now. It's the discussion is open all.
I'm Dr. Swarupa from Subaya Medical College.
Yes, ma'am.
VMS study 169. Actually, sir, in our centers, we are very able to get even Pseudomonas in 50 samples very difficult. And pooling and doing that is very difficult, sir, because you said within 5 days we can do, within that test we have to perform. So daily
background noise,
so
I
it
can
is
hear
very
so much,
difficult
ma'am.
for us.
So, okay. I missed the total isolate number, ma'am. On a daily basis, how many isolates of
Yeah,
you get?
yeah. Daily totally we are getting the samples, 3 to 4 samples, sir. So VMR only hardly we are getting the samples. We thought, and it is a study period is 3 to 4 months.
Three to
So
four.
in
You're
3 to 4
you're
months,
telling 3 to 4 isolates of enterobacterial
let's,
or
yes, sir. Yes, sir. So it is very difficult for us to achieve the 50, the like especially the Pseudomonas and the Acinetobacter for doing this the
ma'am,
test
there is no
like
fixed
micro.
duration of study. If you want, if you to achieve the this is the minimum what we have set. The center should minimum reach that. Time limit is not decided for this study. So even if you take 6 months or 7 months to reach it, the only thing is you should not do this testing selectively. You on every isolate you get in the clinical specimen in your center. So even if you get 3 to 4 gram negative,
Yeah.
including all
Yeah.
specimens you do culture, that is acceptable for us. You can still participate in the study. You have to do all the testing regarding simultaneous testing or pooled testing. So 3 to 4 isolates or 5 or something isolates, you can decide if you can do it on a daily basis, or you will it as sir Siva sir told us, a Colistin agar plate we can put, if you want this into 10 parts, then you can put 10 isolates in that. 10 isolates means 3 to 5 isolate means 2 days the plate will be consumed. So you can opt for that, or you can keep the plates for a longer period, like pull it after every second day or every third day. By that you will be getting some 15 isolates, 12-15 isolates. Then also you stocking the plates, what's the problem with you?
Yes, sir. That is the thing, and so I'm thinking to the because it is 50 some daily we are not getting the Pseudomonas, sir. So to be frank, there is because totally GNB we are getting. Okay,
Then
so
if you
that's
are
what
getting GNB,
I'm
that is
worried.
fine, ma'am. If you are getting GNB, then you can
Huh.
do. It's not a issue. Like even if it is, it may turned out to be a intrinsic resistant bug.
Yeah. Hello. Hello. Hello.
Yes, ma'am, please.
Hello.
Yes, ma'am. Am I audible, ma'am?
Yeah. Now we can audible. Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am. Just I am giving a practical scenario. Suppose from Monday to Thursday, if you just think from today 2 or 3 isolate, tomorrow 2 or 3 isolate, or then Wednesday 2 or 3 isolate. You will get minimum 6 to maximum 9 isolate. You will get on Thursday again 1 or 2 isolate. So you are in the initial 4 days you are going to get at least 10 isolate. So on Friday you can perform these 10 isolate. Yeah, one plate colistin agar plate you can put 10 isolate. So it's a way you can achieve. So it's not a matter. You can. It is not like separate plate you are supposed to use for enterobacterial, separate plate, acinito separate. It's not like that. The same plate you are going to put all type of isolate. So the final thing only we are telling 50 isolate per group, but you can take time. It's not like we just assume that if the most of the centers having more isolate, it can be completed by 4 months. But you can take your time. That's not a issue. But thing is, weekly you have to complete whatever isolate you got in that week, because the colistin resistant determinant will over time it will go off. Then you cannot get the appropriate result. That's why we are recommending within a week that particular isolate should be completed. So that is the main thing we are recommending.
Yeah. And we are not opting for the this MBD. So just
But
because
for this
it is
study
not
it is
feasible
mandatory,
here,
ma'am.
that is the thing. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Study it is
Okay.
mandatory,
Then
ma'am.
otherwise we can exclude. Otherwise we can
So
exclude the
yes, ma'am.
study if it not. Yeah.
Because at least
Yes.
this much it is necessary to compare. Otherwise, with like that is the reference method it is mentioned, right? So without the reference method, then just keeping the data, we cannot compare anything. So that is very important thing.
In the broth microdilation as a compulsory, yeah, those centers who are at all may perform broth microdilation may have to exclude from the study or.
Yeah. So we should inform you, sir, personally that in a group or is it?
Yes.
Yeah, ma'am. In the group, it's or in person. Anything you can inform. But not.
Okay. Thank you.
Hello, sir. Hello.
Yes.
Sir, this is from VAMR 174.
Yes, ma'am.
Sir, previously you said it is CAT and CBDE we can do, but now mandatory these BMD. Sir, what are the requirements for that test, sir?
Okay, I'm sorry for that, ma'am, for the inconvenience, because we had a internal group meeting, and in that it was unanimously decided to include BMD as a compulsory test. I'm extremely sorry for all the for this misinformation, but because we have initially told as BMD to be optional, so but now we are keeping BMD, so sorry for the trouble caused. Your question was, ma'am, about the BMD.
Yes, sir.
So there are kits cost wise, I think it was discussed. Preliminary cost we can let you know. There are plenty of companies who provide commercial BMD kit. On an average, it is 100 rupees per testing. It's somewhere in that. So 36 kit cost 36,000, something like that. So it is 100 rupees per test. Per isolate tested will be somewhere around 100 rupees. That is how it usually goes for all the
kits. If you are going to do broth microdilution by commercial method and colistin agar test, overall cost like powder and the commercial kit, roughly it will come around 25 to 30,000. So that is the thing what we calculated, like based on inquiry from different firms and different powder and so it will cost in total for this 150 isolate, it will roughly cost around 25 to 30,000.
In-house broth micro broth dilution is much more price effective, but the problem is you need a technician a dedicated technician who has time and acumen to do broth micro dilution, because this is some test not and every technician can do in your setup. So if someone who is trained with broth micro dilution can only perform it, and he needs a dedicated time to perform it. So even if price-wise broth microdilation is much cheaper to commercial broth microdilation kits, it needs trained dedicated person, as well as a trained dedicated time for putting it. So that is a on contrary, the commercial kits are easy. You just have to prepare the inoculum and you just have to dispense it in the strip. So it's very easy to do. Anyone can do it. So that's the difference. But they are little pricey. So
any company?
Yeah. So there are plenty of companies. Most commonly, to high media is available. Siva sir, any other company you know of? There are 2-3 companies. We'll share the details in the group along with their pricing, ma'am. We'll talk to them regarding the price and we'll share the details with you. Companies I know of who have this product, commercial MBD for colistin.
Sir, another doubt is
Ketan. Transisia also is available.
Transisia. And you have to just do one thing. It comes with desiccate in lyophilized or desiccated concentration with broth. You just have to put the organism inoculum in that. That's required. So it's a very second step. Within seconds, you can do that test. So that's why it's, even if it's on a pricey side, 100 rupees per isolate, but very easy to perform, very quick to perform, and very accurate. On the contrary, conventional ones are gold standard, but they are very tricky, manpower as well as time. That's definitely needed.
Sir, another one is, yesterday we have discussed costomycin, no sir, Ketan sir?
Yes.
Sir, can you please send like a video how Colistin was like? Can you prepare that and can you please post it?
Yes, we'll do that, ma'am.
Yeah, because that calculation a little bit tricky we felt. So
Yes, I'll share the calculations, ma'am.
yes, thank you. Sir.
So, Ketan and Siva, I joined in the middle. I just wanted to, inform the participating centers, like you have already told them that for enrolling into the Colistin study, they have to do both CBD and CAT. Like as a part of VMR study, every center has to do either CBD or CAT. But for the Colistin study sake, the centers should be willing to do both CBD and CAT. In addition, they should be willing to do the BMD, broth microdilution, or in-house. We have two objectives here. One objective is we want to standardize the Acinetobacter CAT and CBD, whether it is both are doing, or Acinetobacter VITEK, whether it is worth doing, by comparing to BMD. And one more objective is centers are the center who are doing either CAT or CBD, they should know which is better. So when we compare for enterobacterial and Pseudomonas, CAT and CBD with the gold standard BMD, we'll come to know which is better. So with these two objectives, we are going ahead for this study. So Kirtana, you can discuss with the centers, take a note of them, what they're using and their willingness to procure things if it is possible.
Yes, sir.
One advantage of this study is not you did not have to procure so many things. You have to procure only for 100 to 200 isolates. So once you reach the isolate size, you did not continue the study. So that is how you can handle the budget. And handling the manpower, how you can handle is you can pull up isolates. You can do batch testing, so by which you can handle the manpower issue also. So that's all from my side. So centers can give their opinion and their challenges what they are having in their mind. Over to you, Siva.
Sir, yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Sir, that's what, sir. Like the main thing, certain centers ka issue hai micro broad dilution. Yes, that is true. But Acinetobacter, definitely we thought of MBD, but now because finally, like after doing all the study, all the work, after putting this much effort, when you are going to analyze the data, with whom you will compare. So there actually the problem arises. So you need a microbroad dilution test either in-house or commercial one, at least, because though commercial also not a actual gold standard, but still for this study we are trying to accept the commercial thing so that it will be like comparable. Some data we can compare and we can analyze and we can get a good result. So without MBD, then there is point of doing all these efforts, because just going to compare the VITEK and the acceptable method is not going to give any meaningful result, rather than comparing with reference method. So that's why in the end, as an internal discussion, we have decided to include microbroad dilution, that is mandatory for all these 150 isolates.
We'll reach back to all the interested centers. Our team will reach back to you and will ask if you are still willing to include all the 3 tests and want to continue with the study. If you can manage, you discuss among your team and see if you can manage that. If not, then let us know. Our team will contact you and you can inform them that your willingness, or if you're now excluding yourself from the study.
I personally feel they can, because doing commercial BMD is not very challenging. It is simple only.
Yes.
And so CAT and CBD and commercial BMD. So for a week they can store the isolate, and at the end of the week, any you can relieve one technician for half a day from the routine work. So in that half a day, whatever last week's isolates are there, everything he can do together. So batch testing is doable.
Yes.
That is how manpower they can manage. And budget wise, as Siva told, you have to only consider approximately 200 isolates, all organisms together. So that many number of BMD if you purchase, that is going to be enough. Maybe a part of MD study or a faculty project or something like that, they can always plan. So the outcome of the study, you will be a part of the landmark Acinetobacter use of CAT or CBDE for Acinetobacter, that will be standardized. Our landmark study will also give the vision that whether VITEK is recommended to go for Acinetobacter. So this kind of important decisions which we can take at the end of our study. This is the whole idea. Okay, I am leaving here. Siva, you continue the discussion. If they have any queries.
Yes, sir.
Hello,
Yes,
sir.
Thank you, sir.
Sir,
Please tell.
sir, is that only CRA, CRAB and CRPA or CRE is only, or all isolates, sir?
All isolates, ma'am. Okay, if there is no further discussion, then we may meet. Anyway, if you have any doubt later on, we are free to address those queries. Technical issues, price related issues, or any procedure related issues, feel free to ask us about the doubts. That's not a problem. We are anyway here to address your issues. Maybe Stacy, we can do one attendance last and see if any other new centers have joined us. One have marked their presence in the group, but if any other center is there who have not informed us of their presence, we can mark their attendance. Just mention your VMR code. Okay, I think no one. So thank you all for joining on this subgroup.
VMR 43 is joining, sir.
Yes, sir. I missed it.
Kokila 0 by Ambani.
Okay, okay. So we'll mark.
Okay.
Sasi, are you with me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay, Ketana, you have to mark that institute. Okay.
Yes, sir. VMR 43.
Yes, correct. Okay, then thank you all for joining on this meet. We'll share the video, obviously, and we'll share the PPT as well as those institutes will be marked that we mark you, ma'am. And we'll be sharing the detailed broth microdilation protocol also with you. Those centers who are willing to perform it, don't worry about the protocol. All protocols will be shared with you in detail and PPT as well as video of this discussion. Okay, so then we'll depart for now. Thank you all for joining.
Thank you so much. Thank you.